I passed my NCLEX on the first try, and today I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it, what worked for me, and what I wish I knew before test day. For context, I graduated on May 12th, studied for about a month, and then took the test on June 27th. 2 days later, I found out that I passed. It was honestly one of the best feelings ever, but the journey took some discipline. Now, if I could name my two very best friends during NCLEX prep, that would be Mark Klimeck lectures and ATI. Let's get into it. I honestly have to start with Mark Klimeck lectures because this man was heaven sent. There are 12 lectures total, and they completely changed how I studied. Mark breaks everything down into what you absolutely need to know in order to pass this test versus what he coins as nuts to know. And that mindset alone kept me from getting overwhelmed studying every day. Let me tell you, I listened to his lectures constantly. I listened to them while I was driving, while I was cleaning around the house, while I was doing laundry, like anytime, even sometimes before bed. And it's awesome because it's free on Spotify. One of the biggest game changers for me was his 12th lecture called Prioritization, Delegation, and Staff Management. The biggest piece for me was prioritization. Up until that point, I felt like I had learned what prioritization meant in nursing school, but I wasn't applying it in the way that a nurse should be. And I'm not kidding when I say I feel like half of my test was about prioritization of care. In this lecture particularly, something that he said stuck with me. He talked about the expectations that you're not allowed to have on test day. For example, don't expect 85 questions. Don't expect for the test to feel easy or to feel hard. Just show up and do what you're meant to do. Do what you've been preparing to do this whole time. Hearing those words right before test day definitely helped me to reset my mind and go in with a clean slate. Now, before anybody comes for me, I used ATI. I didn't buy any other programs. I wasn't interested in UWorld. I wasn't interested in Archer, NCLEX Bootcamp, none of those, because I wanted to use what had already been paid for by my school, to be honest. Plus, I was already familiar with ATI, and I knew the way that the questions were structured. I knew that they provided rationales after answering every question, so I was happy to use it. And honestly, a few alumni had told me that ATI exams felt harder than the NCLEX, and after personally taking the NCLEX, I would have to say yes and no. Yes, ATI questions definitely challenged me, but at the same time, the NCLEX was all about how can you be the safest nurse? How can you prioritize your patient care? So those two things were definitely what I had to study the most during my practice questions. So a typical day using ATI was me going through several practice rounds of questions. I went everywhere from like each category, such as like maternity and peds or med surg, pharmacology. Sometimes it'd be individualized, sometimes it'd just be a mix of things. I always read the rationale because I always wanted to know why I got a question right, but more importantly, why I got a question wrong. After reading the rationale, it would stick with me, and then I could use that knowledge when answering the next question that might have been similar. I broke up my studying into parts. Some days it was just me listening to lectures and taking notes. Sometimes it was me doing those practice questions on ATI. And at least once a week, I would try to take a computer adaptive test. This was a really cool feature on ATI, and I know other nursing resources have it as well. The NCLEX itself is a computer adaptive test, so as you get questions right, you get harder questions. And I wanted to be sure that I could simulate the test environment as much as possible, so I decided to take as many computer adaptive tests as I could without getting burnt out. I took these adaptive tests on ATI, no distractions around quiet environment, just like it was on the test day. Doing so helped me build endurance and actually made me think about how will I think through every single question on test day. Okay, so let's talk about the days leading up to the test. I'll be honest, for about a week, every single day I felt like my guts were just turning constantly. I couldn't barely eat. I was nervous all the time, and that's not like me. So I knew that this test was definitely having me shaking, like too much. It was too much. But when I got there on test day, I got there 2 hours early, had time to sit in my car and just remind myself that I could do it, that this is what I had been preparing for a month straight, and that all of my preparation up until that point was going to get me to pass that test. It's so easy to burn out and feel like you have to review every single last thing that nursing school taught you throughout your years there, but I'm here to tell you that that is absolutely not the case when it comes to taking the NCLEX. Focus on your weak spots, review your notes, and then rest. The night before, I didn't study. I didn't study at all. I wanted to prioritize rest, so I put on a playlist and went to bed. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. And if there's anything that I want you to take away, it's this. Think like a nurse, prioritize safety, and trust your first answer. You've got this. Leave any NCLEX questions down below in the comments, and I'll try to answer them in a future video. See you next time.